Alright, ladies and gents, welcome to the drug tier list. It is 2025 right now, as of recording this video, January 2nd to be precise. But this is just going to be the tier list of my personal, subjective, biased opinions on every single drug that you see over there on the left. Now, it's 2024. 2025, is the year of the lab rat. And I just want to test, actually, I just want to see how this is going to change by the end of 2025. That's why I'm making this. So let's begin. Let's start with an interesting one. Let's maybe start with caffeine. Caffeine, man. Caffeine is a little fucked because it's super inconsistent. Sometimes I literally just fall asleep after an energy drink, after a coffee, whatever. Other times I'm energized to the point of jitteriness, so I don't know. Caffeine is super nice to drink. I love coffee, I love energy drinks. In that sense, I would raise it up pretty high, but in other senses, just as a drug, let's just put it at C tier. C for caffeine, man. Have a look at the fucking classic picture. Albert Hoffman. Acid is another tough one. Because to be quite honest, I don't particularly enjoy acid. I love the visuals. I sometimes like the headspace, other times it's alright. Never had a particularly bad trip, like anything terrifying. However, just the body feeling of acid every single trip I've ever had, no matter how good they were mentally, whatever the fuck I was doing, um, my body just feels awful. Like it's too tingly. Touching my phone screen feels like I'm getting electrocuted. Fucking, I can't sit down. I can't stand up. I can't walk. I can't run. I can't lie down. Whatever. Everything is uncomfortable. That's all I'm trying to say, and that's why I'll give it a C tier as well. It's given me some nice experiences, but it's a C tier drug for me. I'm saying this is biased as fuck. So let's move on. Let's see what we're gonna do next. Alcohol. Now, good old classic alcohol. We got some interesting beverages here on the screen, which I honestly do not fuck with. Uh, Personally, I'm more of a beer guy. Alcohol in general, just the feeling of solo alcohol high or alcohol, whatever, being drunk. I don't like it. I appreciate alcohol for the vasodilation, take a little shot before smoking and then it's it's stronger. It's noticeably stronger. I do appreciate that, but I don't even tend to do that. I like a little brewski, from time to time, especially some of those like really good tasting beers. There's some good beers out there, but alcohol is also getting a tier C. A tier C? Yes, a C tier. I sincerely apologize to my drinkers out there. Before any drug, ladies and gents, I am a water sipper. You can't see this, but I promise it's water. Forgot to say cheers. Anyways, fucking weed. Obviously, I had to grab a picture that displays my favorite way of consuming weed, which is rolling up a J. I do like my spliffs. I appreciate the spliffs. That is probably the most common way I smoke weed, and I'm just not going to waste time here. It is an S tier substance, and we all knew this. Weed is great. I've been smoking for a pretty long time. I appreciate weed. It deserves an S tier. It's given me many, many beautiful experiences. Weed makes a lot of things nice. Just the process of smoking is also nice. It makes food taste better. It makes shit more interesting. Gaming on weed is an absolute pleasure. So weed is definitely getting an S tier. It's also not that bad for you, compared to a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about here. Alcohol is pretty terrible for you. Acid, I guess, is physically safe completely. Caffeine's fine. But hey, weed, cocaine is something that I hated throughout most of my drugging career because I'd never gotten a proper cocaine high. I once even got like, well, I can't say I didn't get a high. I got like my heart was pumping and I was nauseous. Those were the only effects I had. And then after that bad experience, I had a come down, like a depressive come down. So Coke was fucked for a long time, but then I discovered good Coke. And let me tell you, it's decent. Uh, Price is pretty high. 30 minutes, of a high, not that nice. And the come down is quite sad. But if we're talking about the good effects, holy shit, there's going to be a big picture. Coke is aight. It's an okay substance. If I put another C drug in, everybody's going to hate me. C for cocaine, I'm sorry. Alright, 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 alright. Molly's getting an S tier. Molly? Yes, I put ecstasy pills here. Yes, I do enjoy my ecstasy. No, I don't think it's necessarily always cut. I'm not saying, oh, I got the purest ecstasy in the world. I'm just saying that anything can be cut. It's easier for me to find ecstasy, and I can distinguish, sort of those dopaminergic from the serotonergic effects. So, despite the fact that I haven't tested my shit all the time, I did use things like ecstasydata.org, found a lot of shit that was tested very, recently and very close to me. So, let's just call it MDMA, please. Don't fuck with me in the comments. Um, it's getting an S tier. If we're talking MDMA, I did crystal, of course, but if we're just talking MDMA, man, it gets an S tier. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a little tough to figure out the way in which you and your body, prefer to do it. But once you figure out how to manage the Molly, it becomes really fucking beautiful. And even before you figure out how to manage it, it's still fucking beautiful. You just have a nasty come down or a semi nasty come down. Anyways, Molly's great. Don't fucking abuse it. It's a monthly or even longer wait period type of drug. Let's talk about fucking nicotine. This is a cigarette. There are many fucking ways to consume nicotine. I went through all the vaping. I've tried nicotine gum, snooze, whatever the fuck. And I can say, like, once you figure it out, similar to Molly, it just provides nice little bursts of pleasant experiences. So I think I'll put it in B. This is nicotine, by the way. I'm not talking about just cigarettes. I'm talking about all nicotine. Snooze can be great in some instances. I mean, not to be a crackhead or anything, but when you dip snooze in a little bit of cocaine, it becomes interesting. So let's just put nicotine in B. You can do a lot of stuff with nicotine, like smoke nicotine, smoke cigarettes when you're on Molly. Blissful. Mix some tobacco into your J, make a spliff. Nice. It's an alright substance. Let's put nicotine in the B tier and move on to promethazine. Let's talk about promethazine right now. I didn't put lean as a mixture of codeine and promethazine. I put these two drugs separately. Not because I'm gonna sit here and flex on you like, oh, I had to do them separately. I did the promethazine and then tomorrow I do the codeine. No, it's because I don't fuck with promethazine. I've tried promethazine alone, yes, let me flex, sure. But I've also tried codeine mixed with promethazine, and that's pretty dog shit. I mean, promethazine just makes me fall asleep. Not to mention the fact that it actually has delirium effects in high doses, and I've might have had to babysit one of my friends for like 10 hours because he was completely in delirium, talking to walls. I've never had anything good come out of promethazine, so promethazine is going to be our first entry into the F tier. Don't want to talk about it too long. It's not interesting. It's something I've done maybe 3 times in my life, so yeah, probably twice mixed with codeine and once just solo. Let's talk about a different thing. I want to talk about this. What the fuck is this, by the way? This is actually the Altonoids. This is pretty much Things like, yes, it's a group of things. I just put a picture of a vape here, but it's like HHC, whatever. Even those THC ones, THCP, THCO. I mean, I've tried HHC, THCP, HHCO, CB9. That's about it. And I'm not saying I regret trying it. I'm just saying that I prefer my weed for multiple reasons. It's just weed, it's a fucking plant, it's been smoked for a bajillion years. This is synthesized in a lab, and I have absolutely nothing against things that are synthetic. Uh, I treat them the exact same way I treat things that are not synthetic. I'm just saying that this has way less research on it compared to this, and we don't know enough about it for me to be comfortable doing it, but it gives me some good experiences. I unfortunately think we're just gonna put this in the C tier. I'm sorry. I just haven't been. I'm only talking C's here, but maybe we need to order this too. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm putting Coke above acid. Uh, I'll even put alcohol above acid because acid is definitely more interesting, but alcohol is you can amplify so many things with it, man. I'm sorry. Let's move on to the next substance. Codeine would be appropriate to talk about since we did promethazine. So I'm just going to talk about oxys. I've tried oxys once in my life. I spent half the experience sleeping. While I wasn't sleeping, it was pretty nice. Um, they are hella addictive, but as I said, this is a completely subjective tier list, completely biased. I didn't get addicted to oxys. I had no issues with them, and it was a nice experience. I'm putting it in B. Cozy, if you will. Tramadol, though, is another opiate, and I had a much nicer experience. I didn't fall asleep. Now I did this after fucking candy flip and being up all night, so that might have been a mistake. Don't judge. Tramadol, I'm putting it in A. It was a great experience. It's like a bit of a lighter opiate in terms of opiate effects, but it has those, happy effects. It's an A tier drug for me. Let us move on. Let's do something stupid like poppers. Poppers are a drug that like is funny to experience once in your life, and just then you're done with it. That's exactly what happened to me. I experienced it once. It was weird. Actually, I did it twice in a row, but it was just one time in my life. For me, the feeling was kind of like I had a heartbeat inside of my head, and I was getting really, really warm all over my body, and I started laughing uncontrollably. It was kind of slow, I guess, and it lasts 15 seconds. Now, I haven't tried the other things that you might do with this, and I don't intend to. I don't care enough to do it. But if someone has, I would be very interested to hear about that. This is probably going to get 0 views, but if one of those zeros wants to talk about poppers, be my guest. I'm putting it in D though. Wow, poppers should not be this big. They don't deserve that much respect. There. Anyways, let's move on. Next up, we got amphetamines. I just hovered over them. I'm using relatively random pictures for these powders, right? Like, kind of what I would associate them with. This looks a little more pasty. That's why I say amphetamine. This looks like a rock. That's why I say coke. This is kind of crystally, and it's K, so ketamine. So let's just call this amphetamine. You can type a comment saying, "No, excuse me, this is for FA. I have snorted it through my ears my entire life." Uh, this is amphetamine, and it's going in the great for staying up, dopaminergic in virtual reality, but yeah, enjoyable. It's an enjoyable stimulant. Come downs are pretty bad, lasts pretty long. You can solve a lot of the issues with benzos and stuff, which we're going to talk about too here. Let's put it at the end of B. Let's talk about something weird as fuck. Quetiapine. This is an antipsychotic. I just wanted to try it for the fuck of it, and I did, and it just made me extremely sleepy. Like every time I try something, for the most part, I prepare a little Jada smoke, to see how it mixes with weed, because can't go wrong with a little bit of weed. So did this with quetiapine. I prepared one, and I just couldn't. I didn't even have the energy to smoke that. I just went straight to sleep. So it's another D tier. I don't have much experience with it to call it F. I'll just call it F, man. It's my fucking tier list. I didn't get shit from this. Actually, it wasn't negative. It wasn't a bad experience, and the sleep was okay. D tier. D tier. Gabapentin. Gabapentin is a weird one. It's really hard to dose because of its bioavailability, but when you get the good effects, maybe occasionally, if you mix it with alcohol in virtual reality, it might be really nice. So, just because of the inconsistency, I need to lower it at least one tier. The feeling is S tier. I think it's an A drug. But there's just a lot of instances where you just don't land the high, you just miss it. You miss the shot. Let's move on to shrooms. I don't have much experience with these. I need to cough. It's unfortunate that I only had like one trip, quote unquote, that was super short and weak, but what I did see and feel was okay. So I'll put it in B. Uh, B because I would be very happy to try them again. Compared to acid, I would be much happier to try these again, despite the fact that I didn't have much of an experience. Now that we talked about shrooms, I guess I have to talk about 5-ACO DMT, or psilocybin, if you will. Or as my friends call it, synthetic shrooms, skibbity cybin. This was insane. I loved this. It was probably the best trip of my life that I had on this. I tried it once, and the only reason I'm not giving it an S right now is because I felt nausea throughout the entire thing. But I'm seriously, the trip was so nice that I could ignore the nausea. It was great. Um, I really hate nausea, and I can almost never ignore it. But this trip was so nice that I did. So yeah, we happy about that one. We happy about that one for sure. Great visuals, body feeling nothing like acid. My body felt completely alright. I was full of energy. I could walk, felt connected to nature, very euphoric, very giggly too. Not to the point of hurting when you laugh, because acid made me laugh so much once that it hurt. This was just a perfect dose of laughing. Everything was perfect except the nausea. Now we've done almost everything here, but there's a little flower peeking through here, and that is actually Blue Lotus. Blue Lotus is a pretty low key drug. I would say the effects are lighter than nicotine. It can get a B tier. It's just the thing is that it doesn't really feel that much like a drug, at least for me. I didn't try any extracts. I just tried Blue Lotus, smoking it on its own with weed, even with tobacco. The taste is always nice. I swear it improves the taste of anything I smoke, especially cigarettes. Wow, tobacco, Blue Lotus. Ain't nobody ever told you but me. Let me tell you right now. It's a splendid combination. Blue Lotus is pretty light. It's just chill. You're kind of relaxed. Colors might be enhanced, a little brightened. And I've tried smoking many different amounts. No matter how much I smoke, there's just this peak I reach that you just can't smoke more to get more Blue Lotus faded. DXM. Had one experience with this in my life. It was a pretty low dose and it was a shitty experience. I was just stupid and heavy, and it's getting a D tier simply due to the fact that compared to promethazine, I could see myself maybe giving this another shot in the future, perhaps. Modafinil. Another stimulant. Now, this stimulant has zero fucking euphoria, which is good and bad, right? I mean, you want to feel euphoria, sure, but it's more precise. You're not gonna go like on some amphetamines, just searching for different hits of dopamine, fucking smoking every cigarette, gaming, whatever the fuck you need. Modafinil is probably more consistent at helping you complete tasks or even just daily function or even just staying awake. I find it like easier to handle. There's no come down. It's really consistent, more consistent than caffeine. But the issue I have with it is that it just has a lot of side effects. Nothing too serious, and a lot of people don't feel this. I get headaches, my jaw hurts. There's no like jaw tension, no jaw movements like on amphetamines, MDMA, whatever. Uh, but I guess there's some sort of tension that at some point it starts hurting. My eyes could hurt. My appetite actually wouldn't be that fucked from it. I couldn't take a full pill of 200 milligrams. I mean, I could handle it, but I was way better off taking half, and it was more than enough stimulation and wakefulness for me. Uh, just because I figured out how to take these and get a lot from them, uh, it requires a little bit of magnesium for me and maybe zero point 0.5 milligrams Zans, perhaps. I'll put it in B, but at the very end of B, even behind Blue Lotus. It is better than caffeine at being a drug. Caffeine is amazing to consume. Let's do something stupid. Piperidine. This drug, I've tried it like maybe two, three times in my life. This drug is just, to remind you of Benedict Benadryl. I've never tried Benadryl, but I have tried this. It's an anticholinergic. It's supposed to help people with Parkinson's. Similarly to DXM, but in a worse way. It just made me super stupid. It also made my body heavy. It made me really slow. Didn't have any deliriant effects for me, to be quite honest. Never tried mixing it with anything except the next drug we're going to talk about. Indeed, it's Indy. Benedict Benadryl, farewell. Let's move on to Zolpidem. I just put a little ambient box over here so y'all can recognize it. And let's talk about it real quick. It's interesting. I can't deny it's interesting. And I can't say that I won't try it again. I haven't had any particularly euphoric effects from it like you hear. What happened to me, I have this fond memory where I experienced the shadow people for the first and last time in my life, and it was absolutely amazing. I actually fuck with the shadow people. They were great. I I won't say more about it because I might make a story about this in the future. But it was a good experience. I did puke. It did make me stupid, just like my Paradin and the XM. But it was cool. It felt nice, and I slept great. Uh, it definitely did a good job at knocking me out. When I used it for sleep, it actually did its job very well. And the interesting thing is when you fall asleep on Zolpidem, at least for me, there's this weird like feeling of like you perceive yourself falling asleep more than you should. I don't know how to explain it, but I just don't like the risk associated with people blacking out from a small dose. That's what I don't like. That's why I'm putting it in C. Let's talk about Zans. I don't enjoy Zans on their own. They are actually boring as fuck on their own. I enjoy smoking on them, and they are honestly, in my opinion, a combo drug. It's trip killer. It's great for come downs from a lot of stimulants. Sometimes it's good to take the edge off stimulants. In those cases, that is literally S tier in those cases, but it's just so addictive and it doesn't really function, at least for me, as a solo drug. Uh, Smoking on it, yes, it can be good. Sometimes it could just put you to sleep, and sometimes it's not that fun. So overall, I'm gonna put it in B. And why did I put K pins here? Well, at least for me personally, I've tried many different benzos and I wouldn't put all of them here because that would be way too boring. But K pins and certain other benzos like nitrazepam, they give me a little bit of a different experience compared to things like Xans, bromazepam, diazepam gives me an awful taste in the mouth, which means I can't do it without another drug we'll be talking about. Um, Lasts super long. Those differences make it complete dog shit. If I took like 2 milligrams right now, because I don't have any tolerance, I don't take these, it would just knock me out for 24 hours. Compared to a Xan, which I would be fine with if I took 2 milligrams. So that's why I'm putting it in C. That's not the only reason. The other reason is because when mixed with some stimulants, it's nicer than Xans. And as a solo drug, when you have a benzo tolerance, I'm not gonna lie, it is actually kind of fun. It gets a C. Pregabalin. This is my favorite drug. I'm not gonna say too much about it because it has a shit ton of positive effects, at least for me. I've managed to take it a decent bit in my life without getting addicted. Again, very biased tier list, and it's helped me a lot. I'm prescribed it. It helps me eat. My appetite is disgustingly bad. When I take these, I can eat completely fine. It improves my sleep. Other than that, it just functions as like a nootropic. It doesn't really fuck you up that way. It's more in the background. For me, at least, it helps with so many things. I'm full of energy, but I'm still calm. I'm very social, more empathic, kind of. Less anxious, actually, not anxious at all. And it mixes spectacularly with like a lot of things I mentioned here. Weed, M. I mean, Zans, be careful with this. I mean, mixed it with, oh, I haven't talked about codeine. We'll talk about codeine in a bit. It's good. It was great. I really appreciate it. It's my favorite drug. Okay, we got ketamine next up. K is an interesting one. I had some good and some bad experiences, mostly good, and I appreciate the substance. I definitely want to explore it more, but as of now, and how I've experienced it, it's gonna get a solid B. I've had great experiences on it. I've also had some bad ones. I already said that. Let's just move on to codeine. Now, codeine, I put the Spanish little one over here, and it's getting an A tier for me. Actually, is it above tramadol? Feeling wise, no, but experience wise, just sipping, man. Like the color of this liquid, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a crackhead, but it tasted great when I sipped it. It was really a vibe. Also, never got addicted to it, never had problems with it, never had negative experiences with it, except when it was mixed with promethazine when I just fell asleep. So that would be it, man. Coding's going in A, and this is the complete tier list. Do we have to revise anything? Do we have to change the order of these? Maybe, perhaps. I also forgot to mention DMT. DMT is most definitely going to be an A tier drug. DMT for me, I didn't have a breakthrough experience. I took pretty low doses each time, every next trip increasing the dose, and I had three. And all in all, the visuals on a decent DMT trip for me, what I call decent. I didn't have a strong trip at all, but the visuals were acid times 10, and the mind feeling was like acid divided by 10, which was pretty comfy. Now the reason I couldn't smoke more is because the more puffs I took, it was a vape. My body felt like it was fucking being destroyed. I don't know. It was just like vibrating and like either way, despite this feeling, the visuals are holy fucking tits. That was insane. I really appreciate that. I'm giving it an A tier. Definitely the best visuals I've had in my life coming down from DMT. I will mention that is blissful. I don't know why. I don't think I have this with any other drug, but coming down of DMT just feels fantastic. That is the complete tier list, guys. Let's see how the fuck this is gonna change in 2025, the year of the lab rat. I know we're all excited. That's about it though. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you. This was my tier list. Remember, this is all subjective, and at the end of the day, I recommend absolutely none of this. I recommend you stay sober. Abstinence is the best form of harm reduction when it comes to drugs.